Hello, my name is Hannah Mitchell, and on April 7th, 2021, I died. I never imagined that a simple drive to Bible study would end with me leaving my body, stepping into heaven, and standing before Jesus himself. But what he showed me about fasting, prayer, and the unseen spiritual world would change everything I thought I knew about faith. When I came back, I wasn't the same person. What I learned in those moments would not only save my life, but also transform my relationship with God forever. I had spent over a decade working as a pediatric nurse, but my true calling was ministry. I had been leading a women's Bible study for nearly a year, and that morning was supposed to be just another gathering. But something about this day felt different. It was the 9th day of my water-only fast, something I felt deeply led to do by the Holy Spirit. There was a weight to it, a sense that I was being prepared for something bigger, though I had no idea what that would be. At 6:15 a.m., I got in my car, turned on worship music, and began the quiet drive through Denver, Colorado. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden glow over the streets. I felt a deep peace in my spirit, as if I was closer to God than ever before. Then, as I turned onto Rosewood Avenue, everything changed in an instant. Out of nowhere, a delivery truck lost control on the wet pavement and came barreling toward me. Before I could react, it slammed into my car, crushing the passenger side on impact. The force of the collision was unbearable. My body was thrown violently to the side, and I could hear the sound of metal twisting, glass shattering, and my own heartbeat slowing down. Then, just as quickly as it had happened, everything went silent. My heart stopped. My body lay motionless as paramedics rushed to the scene. But while they fought to bring me back, I was somewhere else, somewhere more real than anything I had ever known. At first, I didn't even realize I had died. One moment, I was in my car, and the next, I was floating above the crash site, watching everything unfold below me. I could see the twisted wreckage, the paramedics frantically working on my body, and even the delivery truck driver sobbing on the sidewalk. It was a strange feeling. I felt completely aware and fully alive, but I wasn't in my body anymore. There was no fear, no pain, just an overwhelming sense of peace, like I was being held in the safest place imaginable. Then, something incredible happened. I felt a gentle pull, like an invisible force drawing me upward, and suddenly, I was soaring through what looked like a tunnel of pure, living light. The deeper I went, the more the world behind me faded, replaced by a warm, radiant glow that seemed to pulse with love. The air around me felt alive, filled with a presence I can't even put into words. Then, as I emerged from the tunnel, I found myself standing in a place that defied all earthly understanding, a realm so beautiful, so pure, that I instantly knew where I was. I had entered heaven. Everything around me was alive with God's glory. The sky shimmered with colors I had never seen before, and a soft, heavenly music filled the air, though there were no visible instruments. The light wasn't just shining, it was breathing, moving, wrapping around me like an embrace. I wasn't alone. I could sense other beings nearby, though I couldn't quite see them yet. But before I could even take it all in, I felt a presence so powerful, so overwhelmingly loving, that my soul instantly knew who it was. I turned, and there he was, Jesus. The moment I saw him, I fell to my knees, completely overwhelmed by his presence. Jesus stood before me, radiating light and love unlike anything I had ever felt. His eyes, so full of fire, yet overflowing with compassion, locked onto mine, and in that instant, I felt completely known. Every fear, every failure, every doubt I had ever carried vanished in the warmth of his gaze. I expected to feel shame for all the times I had fallen short, but instead, all I felt was pure, unconditional love. It was a love deeper than words could ever describe, a love that held no condemnation, only belonging. He took a step closer, and though he never spoke with his lips, his voice filled my entire being. "Hannah, I have brought you here to show you what your eyes have not seen and your ears have not heard. You must understand the power of fasting." The moment he said those words, the entire realm around us shifted, and suddenly I was no longer standing in one place. I was seeing a vision unfold before me. Above the earth, I saw golden threads of light rising from people below, stretching all the way to heaven. Some of these threads were strong and radiant, while others flickered like a dying flame. Jesus turned to me, and his voice resonated deep in my spirit. "These are the prayers and fasts of my people." Many do not realize how powerful fasting truly is. When my children humble themselves and seek me, they create a pathway for my presence to move. As he spoke, I saw something incredible. Whenever someone fasted with a sincere heart, the golden thread connecting them to heaven grew stronger. But when people fasted for show or out of religious obligation, their thread remained weak and fragile. It was then that I realized just how deeply fasting impacts the spiritual realm. Jesus lifted his hand, and instantly, I saw waves of light pouring down through the strongest golden threads, flowing back to earth like a river. Wherever the light touched, people were being healed, chains of bondage were breaking, and darkness was retreating. But then, my heart sank as he showed me the other side. Some areas remained completely dark, covered by a heavy, suffocating veil. I could feel the oppression, the spiritual warfare taking place. Demons lurked in the shadows, whispering lies, fueling addictions, tearing families apart. And then I saw it. Whenever someone committed to fasting and prayer, their sacrifice created a tear in that darkness, allowing God's power to break through. Jesus turned to me with a look of deep sorrow. "My people are perishing because they do not understand the weapons I have given them." Fasting is not just for the body, it is a weapon of the spirit. It strengthens your authority, weakens the enemy's hold, and opens doors for my presence to move. His words struck me to my core. I had always seen fasting as something we did to get closer to God, but I had never realized its direct impact in the spiritual realm. It wasn't just about denying food, it was about aligning ourselves with heaven's power. Suddenly, the vision shifted, and I saw great men and women of faith throughout history. I saw Moses, weak in body but strong in spirit, standing on Mount Sinai as the glory of God descended upon him. I saw Daniel, fasting and praying for his people, as the angel Gabriel broke through the resistance of demonic forces to bring him God's message. I saw Jesus himself in the wilderness, fasting for 40 days, resisting Satan and preparing for his ministry. Then, my breath caught in my throat as Jesus showed me something else, people I had never met, ordinary believers, fasting in secret, their prayers shifting the course of history in ways they never realized. I watched as these ordinary believers knelt in prayer, their bodies weakened by fasting, but their spirits radiating power. Some were praying for their families, others for their nations, and some for deliverance from battles they didn't even fully understand. Yet in the spirit, I saw what their physical eyes could not. Their fasting was creating shockwaves in the unseen realm. Every time they denied themselves in obedience, angels moved on their behalf, strongholds crumbled, and demons shrieked as their grip was weakened. Jesus turned to me, his eyes filled with both sorrow and urgency. So many of my children live in defeat because they do not understand the authority they have through fasting and prayer. The enemy knows its power. That's why he distracts them, convinces them it's unnecessary, or fills their lives with excuses. He fears a praying, fasting church because when my people fast with a pure heart, they partner with heaven itself. His voice echoed through me, and I suddenly felt the weight of what he was saying. I had been a believer my whole life, but I had never truly understood the level of spiritual warfare happening all around us. I thought of all the times I had prayed for breakthroughs, not realizing that fasting could have been the missing key. Jesus then showed me something that brought me to tears. I saw people who had been bound in addiction, chained by generational curses, and trapped in cycles of sin, but as their loved ones fasted and interceded for them, the chains began to break. It wasn't instant, but I saw that every single day of fasting weakened the enemy's hold a little more, until finally, the person was completely set free. Some of these people never even knew that someone had been fasting for them, but the power of those sacrifices had changed their destinies forever. Tears streamed down my face as I watched these unseen battles unfold. I had always believed in the power of prayer, but I had never realized how fasting intensified that power, turning prayers into spiritual weapons that could break even the strongest chains. Jesus looked at me with a deep, unwavering love and spoke again. Hannah, fasting is not about earning my favor. You already have that. It is about positioning yourself to receive what I am already pouring out. It is about clearing away the noise so that you can hear my voice, so that my power can flow through you without resistance. As he spoke, I saw a vision of myself before the accident. I was praying for guidance, asking God to use me, to reveal more of himself to me. I suddenly understood why I had felt such an intense pull to fast before that morning. God had been preparing me for this revelation, for this exact moment. He had been calling me deeper, not just for my sake, but so that I could share this truth with others. My fast had not been random or meaningless. It had opened the door for me to experience one of the greatest revelations of my life. Then, the vision shifted one final time. I saw the days ahead, hardships, spiritual battles, trials that would test the faith of many. But I also saw a remnant, a group of believers who understood the power of fasting and prayer, standing strong in the face of darkness. Their light shined brighter than ever, and the enemy had no power over them. Jesus turned to me, his voice both tender and firm. Tell my people that the days ahead will require them to walk in greater spiritual authority. The battle is intensifying, and fasting will no longer be optional. It will be essential. As those words settled deep into my spirit, I felt an overwhelming sense of urgency. This wasn't just a message for me. It was a call to action for the entire body of Christ. Jesus was not asking his people to fast out of religious obligation or ritual, but because the spiritual battles ahead would require a level of strength, discernment, and authority that only fasting could unlock. I saw what would happen if believers ignored this calling. Many would fall into deception, weighed down by distractions and spiritual weakness, unaware of the war being waged against them. But those who embraced fasting would be equipped, empowered, and anointed for the times to come. Jesus then showed me something that completely changed how I saw fasting. I had always believed that fasting was just a personal act of faith, but now I saw how it created ripple effects that reached far beyond the person fasting. I saw families being restored, addictions being broken, and entire cities shifting because believers had chosen to fast and pray. Some of these people never saw the results in their lifetime, but their sacrifice had sown seeds that would bear fruit for generations to come. Jesus smiled at me, his eyes filled with hope. When my people fast, they are not just fighting for themselves, but for those who will come after them. Their obedience creates spiritual breakthroughs that will outlive them. I wanted to stay in that moment forever, but I could feel myself being pulled back. The warmth of heaven began to fade, and I heard Jesus speak one last time. Tell my church that I am calling them back to the power of fasting, not to earn my love, but to partner with me in what is coming. The time is short, and my people must be prepared. With that, the light around me dissolved, and suddenly I was back in my body. I gasped for air as doctors and nurses rushed around me, their faces frozen in shock. I had been clinically dead for over 15 minutes, yet I had returned without any brain damage, without any lasting effects, only with a message that I knew I had to share. As I lay there, blinking against the bright hospital lights, I could hear the frantic voices of doctors and nurses around me. "She shouldn't be alive," one of them whispered. Another kept checking the monitors, as if waiting for them to confirm that what had just happened was impossible. I felt weak, but completely aware, not just of where I was, but of the mission I had just been given. I had seen heaven. I had spoken to Jesus, and I had to tell the world what he had shown me. Over the next few days, I recovered at a rate that even the doctors couldn't explain. They had expected me to suffer from severe brain damage, internal injuries, or at the very least, long-term complications from being dead for over 15 minutes. But every test they ran came back completely normal. It was as if my body had been fully restored by something beyond medical explanation. I knew the truth. I had been in the presence of Jesus, and his power had not only brought me back, but had made me whole. Even after I was discharged, I couldn't shake the urgency burning in my spirit. I had been given a message that I could not keep to myself. Jesus had made it clear his church needed to understand the power of fasting. It wasn't just an ancient practice or a symbolic act, it was a weapon, a tool that the enemy feared. I had seen firsthand how it tears through darkness, strengthens believers, and unlocks spiritual authority. And now I had a choice. I could go back to life as usual, or I could do what Jesus had asked of me. So today, I'm here to tell you, this message is not just for me. It's for you, for your family, for the battles you've been fighting, for the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Fasting is not about earning God's love. You already have that fully. It's about positioning yourself to hear him more clearly, to walk in greater authority, and to break the chains that have held you back for far too long. If you feel God calling you to fast, don't ignore it. There is power waiting for you on the other side of your obedience. If this testimony has spoken to you, I encourage you to pray about it, seek God's guidance, and step into fasting with faith. And if you've ever had a similar experience, I would love to hear your story. Drop a comment below, share this message with someone who needs to hear it, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more testimonies like this. Let's grow in faith together. The time is short, and God is preparing His people. Will you answer His call?